some big-time NFL playoff matchups this weekend. Mostly a meh wild card. I think we had a couple of good games. I think the Raiders-Bengals ended up being a good game. The more I watch him, I still don't believe Derek Carr is the answer in in Las Vegas. I really believe that they'd be better off moving on from Derek Carr at some point. I think he holds them back, especially in moments like this. But hey, they were a playoff team. Who the hell am I to say anything? So the Bengals are going to move on to face the Buffalo. No, I'm sorry. They're going to face the Tennessee Titans, who are very interesting because it looks like Derrick Henry is going to be coming back fully rested, by the way, to face off against the Bengals. And if the Titans get up by 2 scores, this game is over. If Henry's healthy, then the more interesting matchup for me though is two teams that essentially cakewalked through the wild card, and that's the Bills, who decimated New England, and the Chiefs, who essentially stomped a mud hole into Ben Roethlisberger's last game.
Amen. As a Steelers fan, also, I enjoyed getting stomped in a mud hole because I've wanted the Big Ben era to be over for so long, and thankfully we can move on. So the Steelers fan can come back out and start posting tweets about the Steelers again, assuming that terrible human being is gone. Look, I'm not surprised what the Chiefs did. That first quarter was really ugly, by the way. Like, I think they needed to get that out of the way where you're sort of, I'm watching that game and I'm like, why? Like, why is this game still close? And then Mahomes was like, oh, just kidding. Let me go ahead and throw 5 touchdowns in the quickest span. 5 touchdowns have ever been thrown in the history of the NFL, especially in the playoffs. And then they absolutely dominated us. The Bills-Chiefs is the matchup, though, I think that everybody really, really wants to see. That is a matchup between two gunslingers, two teams that have explosive weapons all across the field, two teams that are going to be a dumb amount of fun. And I believe they are playing in Kansas City, right? Yes. So that's going to be, again, a super loud stadium. I think in my playoff prediction, I picked the Chiefs to win that one. But I imagine that game's going to be close. I don't think that game's going to be a blowout. I think Buffalo can hang with them offensively. It just matters which defense is really going to be there. Is the Chiefs defense that has been playing really well the second half of the season going to show up? Or are they going to be the first half of the season where you're like, this is a laughably and terribly bad defense? That, to me, feels like it's going to help decide that game.
Well, and the Chiefs are playing really good defense for like the last 10 weeks, I think, since they started this winning. Mahomes has looked very human recently. Tyreek Hill has looked human. Travis Kelce's still having a very good year. Not the year you really think Kelce should have. I think they really miss having a run game. As much as the run game is kind of overlooked in KC, I think they miss having a threat, because without a threat running back, I think McKinnon's looked very good for them. But let's be fair, he's more of a receiving back than a running back. I think that teams are just sending 3 or 4 at Mahomes and saying, all right, come on, let's go. And Mahomes is having problems with that. I think a lot of people tried to blitz him early in his career. A lot of people, again, had to stay home before Edwards-Helaire was back there. That's where I think the Bills are really built to beat this team. The Bills have a very good defensive secondary. They can get to the passer with just 4. They don't have to send blitzes to get to the passer. I think the Chiefs are going to have to be a little more creative on offense. I think McKinnon is going to have a big game receiving the ball out of the backfield. I think he's going to have to beat those linebackers off the ball. And I think the Chiefs defense is going to have to come to play, because that Bills offense is running extremely well right now.
Yeah, and speaking of running games, the Bills offense has 2 running backs that have been very productive for them, where the Chiefs are just sort of like, help us, please, anybody want to run and possibly get some yards.
And Josh Allen, Josh Allen is a legitimate threat to run every time he touches the ball.
Yeah, and that dude refuses to slide. So for the sake of your career, Josh Allen, please learn to slide. I know it's not the sexy thing to do, but dear God, please slide at some point in the future.
And then over in the NFC side, we have the Rams who beat up a little bit on the Cardinals. Kyler Murray, it looks like Kyler Murray is getting a slight sense of the Kirk Cousinses, where every time a big game happens, he can't shrink much more, but you know what I mean. Like he tends to get really small during big times. That throw where he was trying to avoid a safety and threw a pick 6 onto like the 2-yard line was one of the worst decisions I have seen out of a quarterback in the last 5 years.
Yeah, it sucks because I like Kyler Murray a lot, right? I really thought this was going to be the game for him to like come out and break. It's sort of like that. You get like that same thing in baseball with like Clayton Kershaw, right? Where Clayton Kershaw would have these regular seasons that you're like, man, this is the year. Like, this is the year when they get to the postseason, he's going to show us something crazy. And obviously, Kyler is super young in his career. A lot can change. We've seen other quarterbacks struggle early on and then go on to have blossoming careers. But I don't know. I think this is going to raise questions for both Kyler Murray and for Kingsbury a little bit. Because at some point, Kingsbury has to figure out, like, you can't just run the same thing if your quarterback is showcasing that he's not able to get it done in some way, shape, or form, right? You got to have some adjustment in that game plan to help him out. But Kyler did look like he was sort of, a small child running around at sometimes, just not sure really where to go with the ball and panicking a bit. And he did have pressure on him, so I don't want to act like he wasn't feeling a ton of pressure at some points too. But I don't know. I really thought early in the season, I mean, Kyler was an MVP front runner at that point. We saw some great things from him. Obviously, the injuries happened, I think, late in the season. Then he sort of had some time to get healthy. And that to me felt like, okay, this dude's going to come into the postseason with fresh legs. I still picked the Rams to win, but I just did not expect it was going to be like that. That was a disappointment for me.
You better be lucky Aaron Donald didn't get close to him, because apparently Aaron Donald just choke a man. Aaron Donald run a whole little trail Sprewell out there on the floor. So let's talk about the other game real quick. And I think this could actually, Rams Buccaneers. It's Tom Brady. Like, I'm not betting against Tom Brady in the playoffs. I'm sorry, I'm just not. That's until somebody shows me that Tom Brady is going to get beat in the playoffs. You could put whatever the Baltimore Ravens running out for the secondary at wide receiver. I don't care. Like, he's still got Gronk. He's still got Mike Evans. We're good.
I don't believe in Tom Brady.
Oh,
I just don't think they're going to do it.
Please.
I don't think. Look, Tom Brady hasn't really dealt with like a real pass rush yet in a while. It's been a minute, right? The Rams are going to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm telling you, this is going to be an 8-point game where the Rams win. Tom Brady is going to be yelling at people on the sideline. Bruce Arians, who just got fined $50,000 for slapping or punching or pushing a player, whatever you want to call it. I really think, I said it before, I think the Buccaneers are a little bit in disarray, right? They're sort of like they're waiting for the right thread to be pulled. And I feel like Aaron Donald's going to go in there and almost choke somebody, and they're just going to start falling apart a little bit. Tom Brady will still be Tom Brady to a degree, but I think the Rams win this game.
You know why I believe the Buccaneers win this game? And I'm going to give you 5 reasons.
Matt Stafford.
No, Matt Stafford notwithstanding.
Okay.
Donovan Smith, Ali Marpet, Ryan Jensen, Alex Kappa, Tristan Wirfs. They made sure that offensive line was set and ready for Tom Brady. Yes, Aaron Donald is a great pass rusher. Yes, Von Miller's on that team. Here's the deal, though. The Rams' defense is based on Jalen Ramsey shutting down one person.
Mike Evans.
And I'm fine with that. I fully get that. And the pass rush getting home. The rest of their secondary is not good, as evidence that they're bringing back Eric Weddle.
Yeah.
All right, they're bringing Eric Weddle out of retirement, and he is going to play meaningful minutes for them. He hasn't played all season, just so we're clear. He has not played a snap all season. The Rams defense is highly, highly vulnerable to quarterbacks who make good reads and are patient. Tom Brady is that. If they don't get home, and I think this offensive line is good enough that they won't, I think that's the difference.
I hear you. And I can see, obviously, that happening too. I just want the Tom Brady era to be over.
Yeah, I know.
Our entire lives have been filled with this dude just dominating, and I'm tired of it. I need the stupid memes to stop. I need him to stop using popular music from different cities to troll, even though his troll game is on point. I need the Brady era done, okay?
Dude,
I need Von Miller to suplex him.
His social media team has to be incredible. The best in the entire internet. Can you think of one? Maybe Wendy's. Maybe Wendy's is up there with it. But I mean, his social media team. Wendy's what?
Wendy's
did you see National Roast Day? It's amazing. Come on, man. Come on.
Wendy's relies on super cliche, dumb things. Wendy's has got terrible social media game. I don't know.
People on the internet are dumb. That's what we like. Have you seen TikTok yet?
Oh, no, for our viewers and listeners, they're really intelligent.
You guys, hold on, finger guns
people.
Again. No, I mean, but like I'm including myself in the dumb people, by the way. I'm including myself in the dumb people, just so we're clear. Like, I like dumb things like that. Like, I'm a TikTok trender. I love little dumb TikToks. I made some stupid TikTok the other day that about like where are all the loyal men at, and I stitched it, and I said, this is my Madden Ultimate Team. This is my Randall Cunningham. People loved it. People loved it because I was showing why I'm loyal, because I like my Madden Ultimate Team, more than, cheating on my lady.
I'm vomiting.
Anyway, moving on. I'm sorry. So let's one more matchup in the NFL playoffs this weekend. The 49ers, fresh off the spanking of Dak Prescott. By the way, why in the world would you run with 14 seconds left and no timeouts? Who knows? And then the best part for me was, did you hear the interview after the game? Did you hear about this? So after the game, Dak Prescott was asked by a reporter that he said fans were throwing stuff onto the field. And Dak Prescott was like, well, you really shouldn't throw stuff at the players. It's unfortunate that happened. It could be a safety risk. And one reporter corrected him and said, no, they were throwing stuff at the referees. And Dak went, oh, all credit to him then. Now, he came out with the worst, pre-written apology ever. But, all right, so you can't be Dak Prescott. Probably the highest, I'm gonna call it, he's the highest awareness, social awareness quarterback in the league. Like, people know who the Dallas Cowboys quarterback is. That's just the way it is. You can't advocate throwing stuff at the referees. However, the referees this playoffs, we've already got one of them kicked out of the playoffs for how bad they were.
Burger, I think.
Yeah, and the referees have not been great, and we've talked about them all season, how it seems like some referees really like window time on TV. They really like being on TV and throw a ton of flags, especially towards the end of the game. Is Dak right in this? Like, forget the throwing stuff at the referees, but does Dak have a point?
Listen, I would have done exactly what Dak Prescott did. Listen, that referee sprinted like he was like someone just called his name at Wendy's and it was late night. He was trying to make sure he got his food before somebody else did in a crowded restaurant. My man was sprinting a good 30 yards up the field behind Dak Prescott, tackled him, realized I'm not a player, and then hit him with a two-step shimmy over to the right-hand side, and then fumbles the ball a little bit and sets it down, and then they're like, oh, game over. Game over. That was the dumbest, sloppiest ending I've seen. Now, again, Dak should have probably slid before, even more so before that. Kellen Moore should not have called a QB draw when they're that deep and they have no timeouts. What are you doing? And then now he's still getting interviewed for head coaching jobs. What is happening right now? But there's a lot of people to blame. I don't blame Dak Prescott for his feelings. He probably shouldn't have said it exactly how he said it, but like at the end of the day, like I get why he's frustrated with the referees, but in my opinion, Dak Prescott should be more frustrated with Mike McCarthy, who has terrible clock management skills. We saw it all the way back in his early Green Bay days, and I talked about it when he got hired as a coach of the Dallas Cowboys, that at some point, Mike McCarthy will lose you football games because he is terrible decision-making and terrible sort of clock management time, and you saw that there. Kellen Moore, don't call that play, but Dak, I'd be more mad at your head coach and your OC than I would be the refs who somewhat tackled you a little bit.
Agreed. So the 49ers are going to go into Green Bay Saturday night. You know it's going to be cold. You know it's going to be frigid. There's no way Aaron Rodgers loses this game, right?
No shot.
Yeah,
Look,
no shot.
the 49ers rely on Deebo Samuel and 5-yard passes from Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to beat you deep. I thought watching the Steelers play was just watching 60 minutes of a quarterback checking down, because Big Ben has the arm strength of the Police 60 kid in the Cam Newton commercial years ago. Literally, Ben can only throw 5 or 6 yards. Garoppolo, who has a perfectly capable arm, Kyle Shanahan does not trust him to throw more than like 8 or 9 yards. It's really unreal. Garoppolo had a couple of throws that were like solid, little medium throws down the field. But their offense is predicated on one thing. Get the ball to Deebo Samuel, let him go do some amazing things. That's it. You stop that, Green Bay walks out of there with a dub.
I'm still wondering what happened to George Kittle and all this. George Kittle's becoming like an overgrown, like, pass blocker. I guess he's just a decoy at this point.
I don't understand why Kittle is not running rampant right now. That man should be doing some WWE runs where he's like, they run down the ramp and they're looking all crazy. That's what Kittle does. He catches the ball, runs in the field looking all crazy, and makes people miss. I still believe all the 49ers are going to do is try to get Deebo involved, and Deebo is incredible. But if I'm doing one thing, if I'm the 49ers, I am trying to line him up for a long-term deal and pay that man handsomely. Because if they don't, when the OC leaves for the 49ers this offseason to get a head coach in Miami or wherever that essentially is, Debo's gone at some point in the future. Like when his contract's up, that dude will be out and living in South Beach more than he'll be living in the Bay Area where the prices are significantly higher.
Yep.